12 universities from across Zimbabwe have assembled here at the arena of intellect, ready to battle it out. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. This is the 7th edition of the SASI Debate Challenge, proudly brought to you by SAYWHAT and supported by the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. My name is Miss Jones, and I am your debate mistress. Joining me today are 4 prestigious universities. Teams, please introduce yourselves, starting from podium 1 all the way to podium 4.
We are from the Midlands State University. My name is Thabiso Sibanda, and here with me I have Tsandogohle Sibanda.
We're from the National University of Science and Technology. My name is Adin Mudare, and my partner here is Nombulelo Ndlo.
I am Munatsire Richiwo Kandlofo. We are from Bindura University of Science Education.
Okay, I am Aninyasha Piskamzimba from Bindura University.
We are from the Lupane State University. My name is Kawalenkos Maslin Mube, and I am with the tall guy, Mr. Mviyeli Ndlovu.
Now that you're all acquainted, welcome aboard. Let the games begin. This debate will follow the British parliamentary style. The rules are, each participant will be given exactly 4 minutes to present their case. Points of information are allowed. However, if your POI has been rejected, you have to wait for exactly 30 seconds before requesting for a second opportunity. With that being said, the motion reads: this House would introduce financial incentives to encourage businesses to align with sustainable development goals. This House would introduce incentives to encourage businesses to align with sustainable development goals. The motion has been stated. Prime Minister, the ball is now in your court.
Right, so the most important thing in this debate is to understand the nature of businesses. Why do they exist in the first place, and what language do you understand the best? We think that businesses think in terms of numbers, they think in terms of the bottom line, they think in terms of, are we making profits or are we making losses, essentially, right? So these are the type of things that essentially drive them, these are the type of things that essentially characterize them, right? So when we talk about financial incentives, what exactly are we looking at? We're looking at things such as subsidies, we're looking at things such as tax havens, we're looking at things such as tax holidays, and also looking at things such as tax exemptions, right? So essentially, financial incentives in their nature, we think are things that businesses are most likely to respond to, because we would be talking to them in a language that they best understand, which is essentially to benefit in the process of trying to save the environment, first of all, and also benefit in a way that continues to grow them, essentially, right? So why target them specifically? We think that businesses are a significant enough stakeholder. We think that the reason why people would go out to consume things that are not good for the environment is because there's businesses that exist to produce those certain things. We think that the reason why people think that they want the things that they want is because that businesses are creating certain messages that communicate to them. And that way we think that the reason why people eat things that are not like degradable and things that are got us here in the first place is because these businesses create those certain things, right? And the reason why they do it is for profit. So if we as a government or as institutions then say to them, there's a way to save costs in the process of production, there's a way to potentially like increase your profits at the end of of the day, it's something they're likely to respond to, right? And secondly, we need to be wary of the fact that we are in the middle of the crisis. So this means that there's a certain level of urgency that needs to be taken into account, right? And if there's a certain level of urgency that needs to be taken into account, we need to employ strategies that will help, that will make or encourage people to act quickly so that we get results quickly at the end of the day. And we think that money or any incentive that helps people either save money or gain more money is something that's also going to benefit us at the end of the day, right? So we talk about the significant impact that businesses have, not only in terms of producing certain products or services, but also in terms of influencing the behavior of people. We think that these incentives can also go into getting businesses to encourage them to run projects that send out certain messages that will help reshape understanding and perception of certain issues that have to do with sustainable development goals. This can be in terms of solving for equality, for example. We can encourage and incentivize businesses to give out messages that speak to things such as gender-based violence, that speak to things such as equal access to opportunities and rights and stuff like that. We can also encourage them to reduce things such as emission and pollution and stuff like that. So opposition could potentially argue about the feasibility of this policy. We could also tell you that the fact that we're debating this assumes feasibility, first of all. And secondly, we think that we're advanced enough to develop matrices that can effectively measure things such as carbon emission, that could effectively measure things such as the level of impact or outcomes or output that these particular companies will be producing in a given a time period or in a given space. So this makes it easier for regulatory boards, for the people giving out these incentives to actually match it up and create a checks and balances system that allows for us to effectively measure and see if this is something that actually works. So we need to take into account, first of all, the nature of businesses, like I've already alluded, and secondly, how feasible it would be to actually implement this policy. Because in as much as, for example, economies like Zimbabwe may not have money, these incentives are not necessarily the government always giving out people to do money to do certain things. We can employ strategies such as tax havens, like I've already alluded, and also tax holidays at the end of the day. And also think about the urgency. We need things that will help people respond quickly and effectively.
And that was the Prime Minister stating her case. Next up, Leader of Opposition, please take center stage.
It's a pleasant day to the House. So if there's one thing that we agree with the General House is, at the end of the day, we believe that everyone, including businesses, individuals, we should all align with sustainable development goals. But what we fail to get from opening government is why, at the end of the day, is it important to use financial incentive as the goal that we're trying to achieve at the end of the day? Why is financial incentive the necessary tool that is going to achieve those same development goals that they were listing throughout this debate? Now we're going to show you how, at the end of the day, financial incentive is not the goal, or rather will not give us the results that we want in this debate. So they talk about how the nature of business. When we come and tell you that the reason why we had to sit down and bring about sustainable development goals, Agenda 21 and all those things, is because we realize that there are capitalistic tendencies that individuals, or rather organizations, tend to have at the end of the day. And that is problematic to begin with, right? We believe that the reason why we had to sit down and draft these theories and ideas is because we realize that no, there is a problem that is arising from people because of the capitalistic nature that exists. The need to produce more, the need to produce more, and the need to constantly think that people need to be given more and consume more. And that is the problem that we have in this debate. We come and tell you that financial incentivizing businesses to align themselves with SDGs literally proves what we're saying in this debate, that the capitalistic nature in the debate is the one that's driving the nation, or rather the climate change and the earth to where it's going right now. And we believe that financially incentivizing these same organizations that perpetuate the need to consume more, the need to extract more, will only grow their businesses. Right? Let me give you an example. The only time that they say we should financially incentivize you is when you're a business that is fully functional, that is able to spare some change and then look at SDGs. But they fail to look at an individual who stays in the rural areas. right? Who's affected, who hasn't received rain for the past 5 years, who's affected by what ZESA is producing, right? Who's affected by the chemicals that these chemical companies are producing. At the end of the day, these are the same companies that they say we should give money to. These are the same organizations that they're saying we should reduce their taxes to. And that is problematic at the end of the day, because we believe that to achieve sustainable development goals, we need individuals to collectively work together. We need individuals, even from the lowest of levels, to say it's my duty as an individual to take up the stand and work for this thing. We come and tell you that we'd rather take a radical strategy that says we'd rather have the lowest of GDPs in a nation, right? We'd rather have an economy that is just doing fine without exceedingly doing above other countries. Why? That is a nation that would prioritize, that says we would rather forego economic development and focus on climate change. We'd rather forego economic development and focus on incentivizing changes that actually affect people, incentivizing changes and mindsets that start from grassroots, not having to wait for companies, to wait for them to have some spare change to spare so that they can focus on aligning themselves with SDGs. We believe that is a flawed way of looking at how we can best solve the situation that we have. We come and tell you that the overall incentivizing of businesses as a whole neglects the overall population, because we come and tell you that the people who stand to benefit in that situation are the very same businesses that are booming, are the very same businesses that are affecting, that are dumping their waste into our rivers, are the same people that are taking money from people. But at the end of the day, the very same person who's living in the rural areas is not getting anything from this, because we come and tell you that they choose what to focus on. They choose, if they feel like they are polluting too much, they can just build a school, and to them they say the government therefore should award them. We believe that that is a flawed way of trying to align ourselves with the SDGs, and with this we've never been proud to oppose.
And that was the leader of opposition, representing the opening opposition. And now, let's leave the floor open to the Deputy Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, ma'am, we as the government side, we're saying we're taking advantage of the fact that these companies are capitalistic in nature. One, why specifically? My Prime Minister comes here and tell you what the nature of business is like, right? How these business owners function like. These business owners, they think numbers. They are capitalistic in nature, which he's talking about, and we totally agree with that. But that's what you're trying to take advantage of, right? So we're running a marginal analysis here. We are saying, let us sell to them in imagination, right? We are telling you guys, we're giving you a certain incentive, right? We are going to be giving you tax holidays, right? We are going to be giving you a certain incentive for doing this, and that. So these guys are imagining we are going to be doing this at no cost, right? So the fact that these businesses are capitalistic in nature, that's what we're trying to take advantage of, so that they cooperate, panel. So what we're telling you is they don't give us an alternative, right? They just come here, they tell us these companies are capitalistic in nature, right? But they don't tell us how they're going to make them cooperate. But we as the government, as the opening government side, we tell you that the fact that they're capitalistic in nature, they're going to what? They're going to comply. Okay, panel. Not second. Okay, so I'm going to explain deep on what my first speaker said. We're telling you we are going to have 3 different kinds of incentives, right? To make sure that this money is not abused in a certain way, right? We're telling you that these incentives are going to be given to these companies only after they have delivered what you have promised them. After only these companies have reduced their emissions, right? After these companies have came up with some innovative ways, right, of reducing their waste. Panel, you go out there, you see a bakers in paper, right? You go out there, you see a honeypot plastic, right? We believe most of the waste which is being contributed into our societies are by these companies, right? With that, we believe these companies are the main stakeholders, not those people in rural areas, because the people in rural areas, come on, panel. The people in rural areas, there is no waste which they are producing, honestly. Okay, so that's why we believe targeting these companies is the best way. Secondly, panel, what to tell you into this motion is these companies, right? By targeting these companies are not companies on their own, they've got people, right? By targeting these companies, you are also targeting the people who are within those companies, right? So the moment you target the companies, it also spreads to people who are in those companies. So you are basically putting in them that thing of responsibility, taking care of their environment, reducing their weight. So by taking care of the company, you also take care of those people within those companies, right? Second, we believe the companies have got the social capital already, right? We believe these companies, they are going out there, they've got advertisements, they're advertising here and there. So we believe within their advertisements, they can push this movement of of reducing their waste, of climate change, this and that. So we believe since the companies have got the social capital, right? So
Point
they
of
are the
information.
best pushers. They can enable us. They can accelerate this they can accelerate this movement which you're trying to push, right? So secondly, panel, we tell you by incentivizing these companies, right? It pushes innovation, innovativeness within these companies. We believe these companies have not been innovators before. Why? Because they believe it will cost them money, panel. So now, by giving them some certain incentives, panel, they are going to be motivated, right? For example, we had a recent discovery by another company in America. Now every company is mandated that before they emit their gases, they need to first purify the air, right? It's an innovativeness which came after the American government introduced incentives in incentivizing these companies coming up with with innovative methods of reducing their emissions, right? So, panel, we tell you that what you are proposing as team government side, right? It accelerates achieving these SDGs, panel, because we as the government, you cannot do it on our own, right? And secondly, the mere people which they are talking about, who are there in raw areas, panel, we believe they can't do that on their own. They do not have the social capacity, panel. Whatever they are doing is not affecting that much. We believe the main stakeholder are the companies, because these companies on the panel, they've got the social capital, social capital, and also these companies are the ones who are producing a lot of waste. But with this, we've never been proud to propose.
That was the Deputy Prime Minister, and now we'll leave the floor open for the Deputy Leader of Opposition.
Panel, we understand here that when the government comes and talks about the profit making of the businesses, they are failing to actually address what this motion is about, because we are talking about the SDG goals. They are failing to actually come and tell us how that financial incentive is brought about to deal with those SDG goals. They come, they shine, they talk about profit making, they talk about the nature of the business, they talk about tax exemption, but they didn't really bring a solution to us on how this will happen. So we come and tell you that if companies are being incentivized, they grow big. As they grow big, these companies are already making profit. So why are we incentivizing them? It's like a small child who has committed sin. You come to them and you tell them what they did was very wrong.
Point of information.
Not taken. You come and tell them what they did was very wrong, but pay them for the same sin that they created. We tell you that those businesses are the same businesses that are causing degradation in our ecosystems. They are the same businesses that are leading to the greenhouse gases that are there in this ecosystem. We come and tell you that if we continue to incentivize these companies, what are we benefiting from it? Cannot the government just directly incentivize these SDG goals without going directly to the companies? Secondly, we come and tell you that financial incentives may be misallocated. Benefiting companies are already...
Point of information.
Not taken. Benefiting companies are already relatively sustainable rather than those that need the most support and guidance. We tell you that this approach overlooks the critical role of regulation and enforcement in driving meaningful change. We must set clear standards and hold the mass that business must be accountable for their impact rather than relying on financial terms. If these businesses are the so-called businesses and they are the profit makers, they don't need incentivizing because they are the ones who are causing this economy to be degraded. They should actually be paying carbon tax. They should actually be helping to solve these SDG goals like poverty, like having the clean atmosphere. They should actually be looking at these SDG goals like taking care of aquatic life. They should be looking like at SDG goals like no hunger. And we tell you that if they are doing it on their own without them having to be financially incentivized, we can say that they are going forward for it. But they do not need to be financially incentivized because we are actually encouraging them to continue degrading the economy. Yes, they're still making profit. We come and tell you that as you give them financial incentives, they have nothing to lose from it. They are actually still benefiting from it.
Point of information.
Not taken. They are actually still benefiting benefiting from it, and as they are benefiting from it, we come and tell you that they have nothing to lose. If they are losing nothing, then what are we helping with? Our economy is continuing to be degraded. We are telling you that our atmosphere is not clean. We tell you that our climate change still remains unstable. We tell you that there is nothing that is being solved at all for this economy. Therefore, we should not incentivize them. They should stand up, because if the government does not have broken legs, it does not have broken hands. For them to actually say that we are going to fix these goals as stated. And lastly, we tell you that we fear that, in conclusion, we tell you that while this intention behind this, we tell you that we fear that financial incentives will not drive the genuine systematic change we need. Therefore, let us focus on robust regulations, innovation, and commitment to sustainability that goes beyond the financial interest, and vote against this motion. I thank you.
If the government does not have broken hands, it doesn't have broken legs. That was the Deputy Leader of Opposition stating her case. Up next, let's welcome the Member of Government. Member of Government, the floor is yours.
Now, opening opposition asked why it had to be incentives of all things. Now, people have been told, business have been warned about SDGs, but the word of mouth only is not enough. Hence, incentives in this case act as a motivator. What would motivate businesses to participate in SDGs other than offering them incentives? Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Sustainable Development Goals are a crucial step towards a more equitable and sustainable future. However, we need to incentivize businesses to prioritize these goals. By introducing financial incentives, we can encourage companies to invest in sustainable practices, reduce environmental footprint, promote social responsibility. This is not only good for the planet and society, but also makes economic sense. Companies that align with SDG goals are more likely to be resilient, innovative, and successful in the long term. Financial incentives can include tax breaks, low interest, low grants, and incentive. Let us create a market-driven solution that rewards responsible business practices and accelerates our progress towards achieving SDG goals. Let us introduce financial incentives to encourage businesses to align with SDGs. Many businesses lack the financial motivation to prioritize sustainable over profit. Financial incentives can bridge this gap by making sustainable practice a profitable and attractive option for businesses. Financial incentives can help businesses do well by doing good. It is a win-win for both parties. It is a win-win for everyone. Hence, the introduction of incentives is very important.
Point of information.
Declined. Business incentives help us in job creation and economic growth. A statistic states that 90% of new jobs are expected in developing countries if we make sure that business are involved in SDGs. So how do we make businesses get involved in SDGs? It takes us back to incentives.
Point of information, sir.
Declined. Also, there is improved brand reputation and customer loyalty. What else would make businesses be involved in SDGs other than if their businesses are their brand is well reputed, and there is customer loyalty. Also, there is increased capital. There is increased access to capital. As I've mentioned earlier, some business lack the means to have financial motivation. So, by giving them incentives, it gives them capital, whereby they are driving both their business and also they are giving back to the environment. The future of business is not just about profit, it's about purpose. Financial incentives can help us align with this purpose. as the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres emphasized, businesses have a critical role to play in achieving SDGs. Financial incentives can help us align with this purpose. Financial incentives can drive this change. Also, financial incentives, they encourage innovation and also, thank you.
That was the member of government. Up next, we have the member of opposition.
The pursuit of the sustainability cannot be reduced to a financial transaction. Firstly, number one, you said, are you making profits out of the incentives? What are the profits that you're making? The profits that you're making, are they a priority to the welfare of other kids? To those who are not in business? Number one, that's what you said. Number two, you talked about tax holidays. There's a case in Zimbabwe whereby there's a tax holiday that is given to the Chinese people that is 5-year tax holidays. Where they're not paying anything, but they are mining, they're building infrastructure in our land. They're not, us as a country, not gaining anything. So they come here for 5 years. When they're done, they go back and come back another after I don't know how many years. And then they just enjoy. Declined. Then you said you are going to employ strategies. Which ones are you going to employ the strategies? You didn't say so. Okay, you said the businesses, the incentives they give the business will to expand. The business will expand. They benefit only the ones at the top. Only. And then you didn't give us, you said innovation. What innovation are you talking about? I'm not sure. I don't know if you know or not. Then we got to the opposition whereby they said the incentive grows the non-taken, sir. They said it grows the businesses only, their businesses only. Of course, they've got those incentives that you say. It's only for them. Then they go out there, they just pay for fees just to cover up their faces only. And then they said there's the degradation in the environment. Of course, we see in many places, if you go to Matabeleland North, there are places that are degraded, that they are degraded because of those companies who say they go big just because of those incentives. They want to help the communities and all. But they leave it unwind and all.
Point of information.
For me, sir.
Okay, can you please confirm that you say these intentions are given only after they've reduced their carbon footprint, after they've done what you asked them to do?
Sir, I didn't come all the way from Lupane for you for me to teach you. Can you please take out your notes and read? Then you talk about the aquatic life. That was mentioned. We talk about the SDG, which says life underwater. If that life underwater is not properly taken care of, we're saying that us as a country, we're saying that we're not improvising other people. We're not looking after the thing that we said. Aquatic life gives out employment.
Point of information.
None taken. It gives out employment and all. So, what I would like to say is that this motion, firstly, it ignores the need for systematic change and ethical leadership. Two, it assumes corporations will prioritize sustainability only if it's profitable, not because of it's a mere moral imperative. Also, it challenges the dominant economic narrative. For this, I thank you.
Coming all the way from Lupane, that was the government whip. Next up, we have the opposition whip.
starting to feel like we really are not understanding why we are getting these financial incentives. This house would introduce financial incentives to encourage businesses to align with sustainable development goals. Okay, so the first question that was raised was why financial incentives are now being given. Why financial incentives are not the goal? Okay, we get it. But now you have to understand this. For the people to be given these incentives, it's because they have reached a certain carbon footprint, they've reduced it, and they've done something about it. As said by Podium 1, we are doing this, giving them incentives after they've shown us that they are following the SDG goals, right? Then, now we are looking at this. We are also having the question of what's the goal? Ladies and gentlemen, we are not saying financial incentives is the goal.
Point of information.
Denied. What we are saying is, by introducing these incentives, is going to make the world a better place. How is that? Ladies and gentlemen, let me educate you first. When we are talking of financial incentives, what are we talking about? We are talking of tax credits. We are talking of our preferential access to public procurements, contracts. We are having subsidies, right? So when we are now doing financial incentives, what is it going to drive? I know everybody would want something before they do anything. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a world where everyone is going to do something for something, right? So if you're going to get something, then you're going to do something. How are we going to do this? So when we are having financial incentives, it's going to drive change. Therefore, it's going to level the playing field. For other people, you have to understand when you're talking of a business, businesses are already profit-making businesses, and they need the profit so that they can continue with what they are doing, right? So when you're looking at a business, we are saying profit-making is not the goal, right? It's the result. So the goal is to make a difference. How are we making a difference? We are saying we're going to be having we're going to be encouraging innovation. Now, that is another question that was raised. What are we talking about innovation? So when we are having SDG goals, right, if companies are going to be following SDG goals, they're going to now start to think of reasons and ways of how they are going to be able to innovate and make them better, right? By thinking that you are now actually innovating. Let's say, let's take for example, right, if it is a company that is now maybe distributing water, like let's take for SARS, right? If it is going to be like, you know what, if they're going to be following a certain SDG goal, you know, they could even put an ad where someone is saying something like this, following on our following on our SDG goal 6, where clean water and sanitation, right? For example, you would just give this, take a shorter shower, maybe 2 minutes or so. Then what are we going to say? That is saying 10 minutes of a shower uses 20 gallons, right? So now what are you saying? You're saying that people are being given these ideas, right? So when companies are now being told, you know what, you are going to be getting an incentive if you do this, right? It's not just them being given money for leisure and profit making. Like I said, it's not about the profit, it's about the difference. Let's look at the bigger picture. We are facing big things like climate change, global warming, we are having droughts, we are having tsunamis. Let's not focus on what profit they are making and focus on the difference. And what is the difference? The difference is that we are going to be living in a better place for our future generations. With this, I raise my case.
That was the government whip representing the closing government. Representing the closing opposition, let's welcome opposition whip.
Blah, 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 blah. Ladies and gentlemen, gibberish. This is what we are getting from our government. When a fool comes to the podium and speaks folly, he or she thinks that it is wisdom. But we are not here to engage in fellas' activities. This is speak and solve. not speak and squander. So, ladies and gentlemen, I need us to understand this from a point of inquisitive morality, that our own government here is in support of the status quo, which is that people or an individual at a basic level does not balance himself when it comes to the SDGs. We have an understanding that these big companies are benefiting themselves, as said by my fellow comrades here, that it only benefits the person who is at the top. We understand that there is no point in actually bringing more money to somebody who's already advantaged. We need to come up with solutions
Point
that
of
help.
information.
No. We need to come up with solutions that help somebody at a basic level. We understand, yes, incentives, but how can you prosper somebody who's already at the top? We have examples of companies that are already at the top, for example, like the Oppenheimers of South Africa, but then we still have a people that are living in disadvantage, that are living in all sorts of mishaps and misabilities in their own lives. So we are saying that as the opposition, the government should come up here and not tell us about the quantities and not tell us about numbers, because we do not have a nexus between the quantities and the implications
Point
on
of
the
information.
quantitative part of this debate. We understand that, yes, they want to give out money, but wherever there is money, there is always a conduct that drives as to pursue the agendas and vendettas of whoever is funding. Fine, we may say that the
Point of
government has this
information.
money, but where is it getting this money from? There is always going to be a nexus advantage between the one who has the money and the one with the connection with the one with the money. So we understand that this type of approach, when it comes to SDGs and when it comes to implementing and manifesting and deliberating these things, does not apply or does not advantage the local person, which is why we would like to extend this debate into a new understanding that does not befall
Point of
the
information.
folly that we are being presented to by the government, as to say that we are here voting or maneuvering with the format that government should come up with strategies, that our debate here today should be about benefiting the individual
Clarity.
who is at basic level. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give you this today, that it is not about benefiting somebody who is already at the top, or rather incentivizing somebody who is already at an advantage, but about bringing about the practicality of sustainable development goals onto a basic level where me and you can come down and say, I am an empowered somebody, I am an empowered individual, so that we do not have a dependency syndrome where we are saying individuals are dependent on businesses, are dependent on corporates so that they can survive. We are saying, let us zero down and come down to a point where we can advantage the local person, empower them through initiatives that suggest a certain level of intelligence, through initiatives that suggest a certain level of capability and capacity in skills work, and as well as mental capacity. We are saying that, ladies and gentlemen, let us not advantage the advantaged. Let us not take food from those that do not have. With this, I thank you.
That was the opposition whip stating his case. And now we'll leave this time to the judges to deliberate.
All right. Thank you so much to the debaters for offering a very interesting debate. I think we, as the adjudication panel, had to sit down and discuss a couple of things and end up coming to the conclusion that we ended up coming up to. First and foremost, before giving the call, as the adjudication panel, we also just thought we would extend a sentiment of debating itself is a contact sport because ideas are coming into contact with each other. But at its core, it's also a collaboration of people who have an interest in coming together to discuss things. So we just hope that debaters continue in the spirit of being very respectful to each other during debates, because we might disagree in terms of ideas, but it doesn't mean that we don't like the people saying that. To give the call, straight to the call, we felt that this debate was an incredibly opening half of the debate. We felt a lot of ideas that came in the second half of the debate were very derivative. So we thought the first two teams were in the opening half and the last two teams were in the closing half. In the opening half, we gave the debate to opening opposition, and then we gave second to opening government. In the closing half, we gave the debate to closing government, and we gave fourth to opening to closing opposition. And this is the feedback. We felt, in as much as from the opening teams, there were a lot of interesting contestations. We felt that both teams, at their core, also fell victim to a few traps that they set for themselves. So firstly, we felt from opening government, in as much as we did appreciate the contextualization and the characterization of businesses playing a significant role within communities in terms of the role that they play, in terms of driving the economies, in terms of the influence that they have, we felt that at your core, you avoided being comparative, which is to say, what else can we do with businesses outside of incentivizing them, firstly. Secondly, what else has been tried and what else has been failed. So in as much as you're offering very good arguments about why this could be a good idea, if you rob yourself the opportunity of offering an analysis of what can be better than a good idea, sometimes you might fall short. And that is what we saw coming from opening opposition, which itself was slightly flawed because we felt it was something that was not said at the inception of the debate, but it was still a significant enough contribution in the debate. The idea that in as much as incentivizing might have some benefits, we think in a world where companies might have more incentives in not meeting SDGs or trying to do certain things, it might make more sense within those communities to put measures that punish companies for harming the communities that they exist in more than just incentivizing them. We think that sort of counter analysis of what the counter factual could be was something that we kind of valued more from opening opposition, which is to say that opening opposition was not perfect, but we think within the context of the debate that carried more weight. But we hope that such a clash could come slightly early on in the debate so that it's easier for us to follow points of contestation. In the closing half of the debate, however, why we prioritized closing government over closing opposition, we felt in as much as the case was very derivative and was very opening government heavy, it borrowed a lot of ideas from opening government, things about why companies are very important. We think it could not make you rank over any of the opening teams in terms of originality and contributing to the debate. But we also think that compared to teams that you're debating against, we got a lot of arguments about what we can do within those particular communities when the motion itself required us to discuss the role of companies within the communities and how we can engage companies to create change. So in as much as at a certain level, some of those arguments make sense in general, based on the context of the debate and how do we engage business community within our societies in terms of achieving SDGs, we think in the grand scheme of things, it was not necessarily contributing to that particular conversation. So in terms of relevance to the debate, and then in terms of the general conversation around the debate, we thought that it was not one that moved the conversation forward. So that was our call from the panel. If you want to ask us, you will meet us at another time and we'll be able to give you more feedback. With that, thank you so much. Good luck for the next rounds.
And that concludes our debate. Thank you to our participants and well done to the judges. With that being said, this is the Speak and Solve initiative. My name is Ms. Jones. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, goodbye.